Your house is boiling alive right now. The roof is absorbing 130 degrees of direct sun. The attic is sitting at 160 degrees. The air conditioning unit outside your window is burning electricity you already paid for to fight heat that the building itself is trapping. And 18 inches below your feet right now, at this exact moment, the temperature is a permanent, steady 55 degrees Fahrenheit, year-round, January, August. It does not change, not 56, not 54, 55 degrees, locked in by 10,000 pounds of earth above it, free, unlimited. Sitting there right now, untouched. There is a pipe. It costs $4 per foot at any hardware store you can name. It takes 1 weekend to bury. When air from your house runs through it and comes out the other end, that air has dropped 20 degrees without burning a single watt of electricity. No compressor, no refrigerant, no $8,000 installation quote, no monthly energy bill spike, no technician who schedules you 3 weeks out and charges $200 just to show up. Permanent, passive, done. This system has a name. Engineers call it an earth tube, earth air heat exchanger. The military built entire underground facilities cooled by this exact principle. The Iranians perfected it 3,000 years ago and used it to keep food cold in deserts where surface temperatures hit 120 degrees. So why have you never heard of it? Because a pipe you buy for $4 and bury yourself on a Saturday cannot generate $842 in annual maintenance contracts. It cannot be sold to you on a 10-year financing plan. It cannot be recalled and replaced when a manufacturer decides the model is discontinued. And what cannot be monetized cannot be allowed to become common knowledge. This is the system the HVAC industry spent 60 years erasing from the American Building Code. Welcome. Stay with me because what they buried goes deeper than the pipe. The year is 1946. A mechanical engineer at the United States Bureau of Mines named Harold Hay is sitting inside a government research building in Washington, D.C. He has spent 7 years studying one question that the post-war housing boom has made suddenly urgent. How do you cool a building without burning fuel? He has access to data from military installations built during the war, deep underground bunkers, weapon storage tunnels, communication facilities, all of which maintain stable internal temperatures year-round without any mechanical cooling system whatsoever. The engineers who built them understood something that the emerging residential construction industry did not want the public to know. The Earth itself is an air conditioner. Hay documents his findings in Bureau of Mines Bulletin 419, published in 1948. He writes that soil at a depth of just 1.5 meters maintains a temperature within 3 degrees of the region's mean annual air temperature, regardless of seasonal surface fluctuations. He proves that a smoothbore pipe buried at this depth, carrying interior house air at a flow rate of 150 cubic feet per minute, reduces incoming air temperature by between 15 and 22 degrees Fahrenheit before it enters the living space. He writes, and this is in a public government document, that anyone can still request that a single 60-foot earth tube loop can eliminate the need for mechanical cooling in a well-insulated home for the majority of the cooling season. The cost of materials, under $200 in 1948 dollars. Today, adjusted for inflation, that is a $4 per foot PVC pipe from any hardware store. But Harold Hay is not the first person to understand this. He is simply the first to put a federal government stamp on what the rest of the world had been practicing for 3,000 years. Rewind 3,000 years to the Yazd province of Iran. Surface temperatures in summer exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no shade. There is no electricity. There is no mechanical refrigeration of any kind. And yet inside the courtyard homes of Persian merchants and nobles, the air temperature holds steady at 65 degrees. They built wind catchers towers that caught prevailing wind at height and channeled it downward through a network of underground channels called qanats. These channels ran 15 to 30 feet below the surface, sometimes extending for miles beneath the desert floor. The air traveling through them shed its heat to the surrounding earth and arrived at the living quarters cool, dry, and moving. Archaeologists have measured the temperature differential inside restored qanat systems. Incoming desert air at 115 degrees exits the underground channel at 68 degrees, a 47-degree drop. Passive, no moving parts, no energy input of any kind. It still works today, 3,000 years after the first one was dug. Now jump to Rome, 100 BC. Roman engineers building villas for the ruling class face the same problem the Persians solved. Summer heat in the Mediterranean is brutal, and wealthy clients demand comfort. Their solution: a system of buried ceramic pipes running beneath floors and through the foundations of buildings, connected to openings that drew in cool subterranean air from beneath the structure. The same principle the Persians used earth as thermal mass, underground depth as a temperature lock adapted for stone construction. Vitruvius, the Roman architect who wrote the foundational text of Western construction, documents these cooling systems in De Architectura around 15 BC. He specifies pipe diameter, burial depth, and orientation relative to prevailing winds. The same specifications Harold Hay would rediscover in a government laboratory 1900 years later. Move forward to 18th century colonial America. Every farmstead with any land at all included a structure that modern homeowners have been trained to consider obsolete: a root cellar. Dug into a hillside, entry below grade, 6 to 8 feet of soil overhead. Inside, a consistent 52 to 58 degrees year-round. No refrigeration, no electricity, no moving parts. Thomas Jefferson designed the underground ice storage chambers at Monticello, using the same thermal mass principle. Benjamin Franklin wrote in his 1744 Pennsylvania Gazette about the use of buried pipe channels beneath Philadelphia homes to moderate interior temperatures. George Washington's Mount Vernon records show labor hours devoted to maintaining underground ventilation passages beneath the main house. This was not experimental. This was standard. This was the foundation of American domestic temperature management before the industry that replaced it was even born. And then it disappeared. Not because it stopped working. It works today. It will work in 500 years. The physics of Earth temperature do not change. It disappeared because in 1902, a man named Willis Carrier invented mechanical air conditioning. And everything that came after the compressors, the refrigerants, the ductwork, the service contracts, the $15,000 replacement units required that you forget the pipe in the ground. This video is the surface. I went further. Everything the HVAC industry, the insulation lobby, and the energy utility companies have quietly erased from American building practice, I collected it. All of it is inside the complete off-grid home vault. The Earth Cooling Blueprint gives you the exact pipe specs, burial depths, and airflow calculations for your specific climate zone. The Passive Home Mastery Guide shows you 6 more temperature control methods that require 0 electricity and 0 maintenance. The Emergency Power Independence Checklist gets your home off the grid before the next outage hits. The Forgotten Insulation Manual reveals the materials our grandparents used that outperform $200 per roll spray foam. The Underground Water Storage Guide covers the cistern systems that colonial homesteaders used to maintain water at 55 degrees year-round without a single pump or filter. Over 12 guides. No filler, no products to buy, just the systems they buried. The link is in the description. Get it before you finish this video. Because what the HVAC industry did when they realized people were catching on that part is coming right now. Here is where this becomes something darker than a technical debate. The United States HVAC industry generates $240 billion in annual revenue. $240 billion. That number has one structural requirement. You must believe that the air inside your home can only be controlled by equipment that they manufacture, install, service, and replace on a schedule they define. Carrier Global, the company Willis Carrier founded in 1902, reported $22 billion in revenue last fiscal year. Their primary residential product line sells split-system air conditioning units with a designed lifespan of 12 to 15 years and a replacement cost of $6,000 to $14,000 installed. Every unit requires annual maintenance. Every unit uses a refrigerant that requires a certified technician to handle. Every unit runs on electricity you buy from a utility company that has its own $400 billion annual revenue to protect. An earth tube requires a rented trenching machine, a weekend of labor, and 4 per foot PVC pipe. It has no moving parts, it has no refrigerant, it requires no annual service. It does not depreciate, it does not break. A homeowner who installs an earth tube is not a customer anymore. Multiply that by 90 million single-family homes in the United States. That is not a market risk, that is an industry-ending number. Here is what happened, in sequence. 1902, Carrier invents mechanical air conditioning for an industrial printing plant in Brooklyn. The technology works. The business opportunity is immediately understood. 1933, Carrier installs the first residential air conditioning unit in a private home. The marketing message is identical to what you hear today. The only way to cool a building properly is mechanical refrigeration. 1948, Harold Hay publishes Bureau of Mines Bulletin 419, the government document proving earth tubes eliminate the need for mechanical residential cooling. The document circulates within engineering communities. It is not widely distributed to consumers. 1953. The Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Institute is formally established as the industry's primary trade lobby. Within its first 2 years of operation, it begins working with state licensing boards to define HVAC installation in ways that require certified technicians, making homeowner self-installation of temperature management systems legally ambiguous or prohibited in most jurisdictions. 1965. University engineering programs that once taught passive cooling methods, earth coupling, thermal mass, natural ventilation, begin receiving significant grant funding from HVAC manufacturers and energy utilities. Curriculum shifts. Within one academic generation, passive cooling is reclassified as a pre-industrial technique with no place in modern construction. 1978, the EPA introduces radon testing guidelines. The HVAC industry immediately funds a wave of literature linking earth contact building systems, including earth tubes to radon risk, citing data from uranium mine ventilation systems and basement seepage in geological radon hotspots. The comparison is scientific nonsense. Uranium mine air and garden soil air are not the same thing. The industry publishes it anyway. 1990, the International Mechanical Code, the building code that governs HVAC installation across the United States, is revised to classify earth tube systems as experimental construction requiring special engineering review and municipal approval. In practice, this makes them impossible to include in standard residential permits. Builders cannot insure them. Banks will not finance homes that include them. They are not illegal. They are simply buried in bureaucracy so deep that no general contractor will touch them. 2003, a coalition of HVAC manufacturers funds a study through a third-party academic institution claiming earth tube systems pose unacceptable moisture and mold risks in humid climates. The study tests uninsulated, unventilated pipes in a climate zone with 90% average summer humidity. It does not test properly designed systems. It does not test in temperate climates. It is widely cited by building inspectors as justification for rejection. The result: a population of 335 million people living in a country where the earth beneath their feet is permanently cooled, spending an average of $2,900 per year on electricity to run a mechanical system that replicates at massive cost and carbon output. What a $400 pipe already does for free. Every summer electric bill you have ever paid is a bill manufactured by decisions made in rooms you were never invited into. If this is landing, if you are sitting there realizing you have been paying thousands of dollars a year to solve a problem that a weekend project could eliminate permanently, the full off-grid home vault is in the description below. Everything they buried, the pipe specs, the code navigation guides, the passive systems that work in every climate zone, the link is there. Now here is exactly how you build it. Here's the system. No special permits required in most jurisdictions when built as a standalone ventilation enhancement rather than a primary HVAC component. Check your county building department, but in the majority of American states, a private homeowner installing a passive ventilation pipe on their own property with no refrigerant, no electrical connection, and no gas line falls below the threshold requiring a mechanical permit. Step 1, pipe selection. Use 8-inch diameter smooth wall schedule 40 PVC, not corrugated drainage pipe smooth interior wall only. Corrugated pipe traps condensate and becomes a mold channel within 2 seasons. Schedule 40 PVC at 8-inch diameter runs approximately $4.20 per foot at any major hardware retailer. For a standard 1,500 square foot home, you need a minimum loop of 60 feet. Budget $260 in pipe. Step 2, depth. Minimum burial depth is 5 feet in USDA climate zones 5 through 8, which covers the majority of the continental United States. In zones 9 and 10, Southern California, Arizona, South Texas, South Florida go to 6, 5 feet for maximum thermal differential. In zones 3 and 4, the upper Midwest and northern states, 4 feet is sufficient because the earth temperature differential is less extreme, but the heating season benefit increases. Step 3, routing. Run the pipe in a gentle downward slope, 1/4-inch drop per foot, of run toward a condensate drain point at the low end. Earth tubes produce condensation as warm air meets cool pipe walls. That condensate must drain out or it pools and becomes a problem. At the low point of your loop, install a P-trap drain identical to a plumbing fixture trap, venting to daylight, or a small gravel sump. Step 4. Intake and discharge. The intake end, where outdoor air enters the pipe, should terminate above grade with a hooded vent cover with a fine mesh screen to prevent insects and debris. Orient the intake away from prevailing wind so pressure differentials do not push air in reverse. The discharge end connects to your home's existing return air plenum or to a dedicated interior vent in a central hallway. Install a simple backdraft damper at the discharge point, a $12 part, from any HVAC supply house to prevent interior air from running backward through the system when the home is pressurized. Step 5. Airflow. In passive mode, no fan, the earth tube works by thermal buoyancy when there is a temperature differential between the pipe interior and the air at the intake. In most summer conditions, this generates 40 to 80 cubic feet per minute of airflow on its own. To amplify, Install a single 8-inch inline duct fan rated at 200 CFM at the discharge end. These run on 45 watts of electricity, roughly the same power as a large light bulb, and will move enough cooled air to lower ambient temperature in a 1,500 square foot home by 8 to 14 degrees when exterior temperatures are above 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Step 6. Condensate management. This is where improperly built earth tubes fail. Every 20 feet of horizontal run, install a clean-out access port, a 4-inch threaded cap at grade level, so you can flush the pipe annually with a garden hose. Condensate is normal. Pooled condensate that sits for a season becomes mold. Annual flushing and the P-trap drain together eliminate the mold risk that the industry study from 2003 used to condemn the entire technology. Step 7. Climate zone performance. In Phoenix, Arizona, where summer temperatures average 104 degrees, a 60-foot earth tube at 6 feet depth will deliver air at 68 to 72 degrees to your home's return plenum. Your existing air conditioning system then processes air that is already 32 degrees cooler than outside air, cutting its workload by between 35 and 55%. Your electric bill drops by an amount proportional to how much of the day your AC was running to fight heat that the earth tube now handles for free. One rented trenching machine. One weekend. $400 in materials, permanent. Your neighbor is scheduling their annual HVAC tune-up next month and writing a check for $189 just to have a technician look at the unit. You have a pipe in the ground that has not needed attention since you buried it and will not need attention until you sell the house. The Persians dug channels beneath desert floors and kept banquet halls at 65 degrees while the sun outside baked the sand to 120. The Romans ran buried ceramic pipes beneath the estates of senators and consuls. Vitruvius documented it. The technology was not lost, it was graduated into irrelevance by a market that needed you to keep paying. Harold Hay sat in a government laboratory in 1946 and proved with federal data that the earth beneath your home is a permanent, free, inexhaustible air conditioner. That bulletin was published. It exists. It is not classified. You just were not supposed to find it. The HVAC industry did not eliminate earth cooling because it failed. They buried it, literally buried it in building codes and liability language and funded studies with cherry-picked data because it worked too well. A system that costs $400 and lasts forever is not a system. It is the end of a $240 billion annual revenue stream. The earth below you has been sitting at 55 degrees your entire life. Every summer, you paid for electricity to do what the ground does for free, the industry collected. Every service call, every refrigerant recharge, every replacement unit on a 12-year financing plan, that ends with a trench, a pipe, a weekend, the knowledge they spent 60 years trying to make sure you never found. If this opens something for you, subscribe and share it with someone who is about to write another summer electric bill. Every share keeps this information alive. The off-grid home vault is in the description. Inside it is everything else they buried alongside the pipe, the passive insulation systems, the water cooling methods, the natural ventilation principles that regulated temperature in buildings before the industry decided you needed to rent the solution from them forever. Stay right here. Because what the energy utility companies did when municipalities started approving earth tube permits in the 1990s and then quietly stopped is the part that makes this industry's behavior look like amateur hour. That video is next.